be ready. Are we ready? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the press. As requested by Security Council Resolution 2044 of April 2012, I have just briefed the Council on the latest developments in the search for a just, lasting, and mutually acceptable political solution of the Western Sahara conflict, which will provide for the self-determination of the people of Western Sahara. I shared with the Council the findings and recommendations that emerged from my visit to North Africa from October 25th to November 11th. I visited Morocco and the Polisario leadership, as well as Algeria and Mauritania, and met with political leaders and representatives of civil society, as well as senior government authorities at each stop. Everywhere, my welcome was warm and without reservation. In addition, I visited Western Sahara for the first time and met with a broad range of Sahrawis there and elsewhere. The state of bilateral relations between Morocco and Algeria and next steps in building the Arab-Maghreb Union were also examined. In addition, on my way home, I held consultations in Madrid and Paris. The governments of Morocco, Algeria, Mauritania, Spain, and France, as well as the Polisario Front and MINURSO, extended full cooperation, and I thank them. The situation remains very worrisome and should remain on the radar of the international community. As I stated in Madrid, the conflict over the final status of Western Sahara has gone on for far too long. While some may believe that the status quo is stable and that it is risky to take chances for peace, I believe that this is a serious miscalculation, particularly now that the region is threatened by extremist, terrorist, and criminal elements operating in the Sahel. In these new circumstances, this conflict could, if left to fester, feed growing frustration and spark renewed violence and hostilities that would be tragic for the peoples of the region. This conflict must be resolved, and I believe that it can be resolved if there is a will to engage in real dialogue and compromise. With regard to next steps, my sense is that convening another round of informal talks immediately would not advance the search for a solution. We have had 9 such rounds since August 2009, without results on the core issue of the future status of Western Sahara. Rather than going back directly into another round, therefore, I intend to focus first on additional consultations with key international stakeholders, and then to engage in a period of shuttle diplomacy with the parties and neighboring states in the context of 1 or more visits to the region, including to Western Sahara. It is my hope that these activities will lay the groundwork for effective resumption of face-to-face meetings between the parties. The parties and the neighboring states, as well as members of the Security Council, have welcomed this approach and have stated their readiness to continue to work with me in the coming months. I must stress that the principal responsibility for making progress rests with the parties themselves. That said, the UN will spare no effort to assist them, and I've asked the members of the Council and of the wider international community to join in encouraging them to enter into serious negotiations to arrive at an honorable settlement that ends the humanitarian tragedy that long separated families have been enduring. Thank you. A few questions.
It's a very specific question, but while you were in the region, there were some reports of violence on demonstrators. And here at the UN, I wasn't able to really get a straight answer of what you'd seen. What did you see?
What I personally saw, I saw no such activity. I received reports of demonstrations, of police action, of incidents of violence during my visit to Western Sahara and thereafter. But none of these reported events occurred in my presence, so I'm not in a position to give you a first-hand assessment.
I'm going to speak in French. Lors de votre visite dans la région, vous avez parlé avec vos interlocuteurs, notamment algériens, du recensement.
The issue of the census, cette question du recensement a été abordée en premier lieu à Rabat, et j'ai soulevé cette question à Tindouf et à Alger, où les autorités sur place m'ont dit que le HCR est satisfait des chiffres fournis par le pays hôte en ce qui concerne le nombre de réfugiés, ce qui permet de définir le niveau d'aide humanitaire, et que aller plus loin que ça relève d'un aspect politique qui n'est pas justifié.
Thank you, sir. Earlier this year, the Moroccan government said it no longer had any confidence in you. Now, does your visit to Morocco and your comments tonight, does that mean that they now have confidence and they want to work with you normally as before? And also, do you see any spillover now from events in Mali in the Western Sahara problem?
On the first question, as I said in my statement, I was welcomed everywhere warmly and without reservation. It's not to me to try and explain the actions of a government, and if you have questions about that, I suggest you ask the proper people. As for the relationship between events in Mali and events in the Western Sahara, to me, what is going on throughout the Sahel in Mali demonstrates the need to address and settle this long-standing dispute, which could be exploited by one party or another in the Sahel to destabilize the region. All of the governments, all of the parties in the region in Northwest Africa are aware of this, and they've all taken steps to try and make sure that there's no spillover from Mali, be it in Algeria, Mauritania, Western Sahara, or even in the refugee camps. And so I did sense a general awareness that, yes, this is a time to start getting serious, but I did not yet sense a readiness to take that first step towards getting serious. So we're going to have to work on this.
Could I ask you about the UN mission MINURSO? Did you get, since the last time you've been here, do you have any sense of whether the freedom of movement and other issues that have been raised have been improved at all? And this idea of a human rights monitoring mechanism. In your absence, Special Rapporteur Mendez gave a press conference, and he said, I guess generally, that having an ongoing mechanism is always better than a one-shot visit. What do you think of that, and what do you think of MINURSO's performance and ability to perform?
Well, as I told the Council, one of my strongest impressions was the sense of professionalism and commitment that I discovered at MINURSO headquarters and at the team sites I visited in Mahbes and Tifariti. I wanted to give the special representative his own chance to stand here, but he was very modest and decided I could answer for him on the other question. He did brief the Council and stated that there has been no restriction on freedom of movement, none whatsoever, and that the issue of access to interlocutors is an issue that's under ongoing discussion with the two parties. On the Moroccan side, there is an issue of how to interpret MINURSO's mandate, and my feeling has been that this is not some huge change. This is not the UN trying to completely alter the terms of its engagement in Western Sahara. It is simply an effort to enable the Secretary General's Special Representative for Western Sahara to respond to requests from the Council, from the Secretary General, for independent information about the working environment of MINURSO. And to me, that is a perfectly normal, non-threatening function that I'm confident that working with the Moroccan authorities we will be able to clarify. The other question was
human rights monitoring, whether a special rapporteur has said that it would be a good thing. What's your view on that?
Human rights is not part of my core mandate. And when people ask me for advice, this is what I say. First of all, you've all seen reports of alleged violations on both sides. Some of these have come in reports from the special rapporteurs and in other reports from NGOs, etc. So there is information out there. It's up to the Council and to the High Commissioner for Human Rights to determine whether this information is so serious as to warrant close international attention. If they decide that it does, it's up to them to determine what form such attention would take. It's not up to me to recommend one form or another. So I leave this matter entirely in the hands of the Council and in the hands of the High Commissioner for Human Rights.
About freedom of the press. There were some reports of foreign reporters being expelled. Another time. All right, thank you.